I'm so lonely. All the other Viltrumites are scared of me.
If you think you know me, trust me, you don't.
Nolan Grayson, aka Omni-Man, was once one of the most respected Viltrumite warriors within the Viltrumite Empire until he defected due to the emotional attachment he developed for his wife and son on planet Earth. Conversely, Conquest is arguably the most feared Viltrumite warrior within the entire Viltrumite race, essentially being the Empire's nuclear option when it comes to conquering new planets and expanding the Empire. So with the conclusion of Invincible Season 3, we all saw Conquest battle Mark, similar to how Omni-Man battled Mark in the Season 1 finale, and due to this, the Invincible fandom has naturally begun to compare Omni-Man to Conquest and ask who would win between these two juggernauts. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look at just how powerful these characters are, and then comparing the two to determine who truly is the superior Viltrumite. Note that we will only be sticking to the animated show iterations, as these are the versions most of the fandom are familiar with. So jumping straight into it, starting with Omni-Man. Omni-Man when on Earth was by far the strongest entity, even soloing and murdering the Guardians of the Globe, which contained some of the strongest entities on the planet. We even get to momentarily see Omni-Man casually destroy an entire planet when he invades the Flaxen Dimension, where we can observe him obliterating multiple cities in mere seconds. He would then go on to battle the greatest weapons the GDA could possibly throw at him, being led by C-Cell, only then to go on and effortlessly and brutally batter his son Mark before sparing him due to the emotional attachment he had for him. We then wouldn't see him again until Mark finds him ruling over the planet Thraxa, where he would breed with a female Thraxan, having another son. Due to his seeming defection from the Viltrumite Empire, multiple Viltrumites would then come to Thraxa to capture Omni-Man and would destroy Thraxa out of anger, and it is here where we first got a glimpse of how Omni-Man compares to other fully grown Viltrumites, where we see him essentially kill them all and only fell to them due to being off-guarded when checking up on Mark's well-being. Once Omni-Man is captured, we would then see him saved shortly before his execution, with Alan and Battle Beast coming to his rescue. Now, even beaten and battered, Omni-Man is still able to fight off a high-ranking Viltrumite to escape further incarceration. Hence, it is quite safe to say that Omni-Man is one of the strongest Viltrumites in the entire Empire. Now to begin taking a look at Conquest, we don't get much of him, at least in the animated show, with him making his first appearance in the last episode of Season 3. However, we get an understanding very quickly of how powerful he is with the sheer force of his strikes, leveling an entire city. Additionally, C-Cell, when observing Conquest's battle with Mark, states that his guys believe that Conquest could even take Omni-Man down one-on-one, and luckily we would get a background story on Conquest, with us learning that he is essentially the most feared and savage Viltrumite the Empire has to conquer other planets, with that being the very reason he was given the name Conquest. Conquest, when arriving to Earth, would go on to brutally pummel Mark and only was defeated due to Adam Eve blasting him, causing him severe burns, which would give Mark with an adrenaline spike the opportunity he needed to finally defeat Conquest. Now, with us knowing what both these powerhouses have accomplished, who would win? Well, the best way to answer this question is to compare their performances against Mark. Omni-Man, when battling Mark, as said earlier, was already fatigued to some extent due to warding off everything the GDA and C-Cell was throwing at him, and still casually battered Mark within an inch of his life and still held back to an extent, as evident by him sparing Mark in the end. The gap between an inexperienced Mark and Omni-Man here was clearly vast, even with Omni-Man being fatigued and holding back to an extent, with Mark essentially doing no damage to Omni-Man when trying to strike and damage him. Now, when it comes to Conquest versus Mark, there is one very important thing to note. This Mark was significantly stronger than the one that fought Omni-Man, and in fact was stated by Donald and the GDA to be 65% faster, 70% more endurant from a cardiovascular standpoint, and 138% stronger in just a 90-day period, meaning from the point he battled Omni-Man, he has probably had even greater jumps in overall ability, as well as the fact that this was at the beginning of Season 3, meaning he's even stronger by the time Conquest arrived on Earth. When Conquest battles Mark, for the majority of the time, he is more so egging Mark on rather than attempting to actually kill him in an attempt to bring out Mark's full potential, and still nearly defeated Mark, again up until Adam Eve blasted him, causing him severe damage. Hence, even Mark becoming significantly and perhaps even multiple times stronger from the time with his battle with Omni-Man, still wasn't strong enough to defeat Conquest one-on-one, and it is quite clear that Conquest was Mark's superior. With all that being said, Conquest has better feats and more going for him to deduce that he is superior to Omni-Man, at least at this point in the animated series. In fact, the soundtrack used for him is actually titled The Second Strongest Viltrumite, with the first being most likely Thrag, who is actually the current ruler and king essentially of the Viltrumite Empire. Additionally, with it being the case that Viltrumites become increasingly stronger as they grow in age, due to slowed aging as they get older, Conquest being one of the oldest Viltrumites in existence has only made him that much stronger over his lifespan. So even though I do believe a death battle between Omni-Man and Conquest to be very close, due to them being both highly experienced and even having great respect amongst each other, as stated by Conquest, Conquest is simply the more impressive and powerful Viltrumite with what we currently know in the series. Note that unlike with Mark, he would certainly not toy with Omni-Man, as he is already aware of how powerful Omni-Man is, so he would go for the throat from the beginning of the battle and would eventually overwhelm Omni-Man, leading to his eventual death. And there you guys have it, folks. That is the video. I am certainly looking forward to the future seasons of Invincible and hopefully an eventual battle between these two behemoths. Please feel free to leave any thoughts, including disagreements, in the comment section below. Anyways, I hope you folks enjoyed the video, and I'll end off the video with 3 special words. Thrag's hairline solos. Stay classy, y'all.